Welcome back to Outdoors with the Morgans.
It is a beautiful day today here in Pennsylvania.
We're not in Pennsylvania.
You're right. So we are at a undisclosed location in West Virginia. Well, actually, we're near Terra Alta, West Virginia, which isn't too far from Deep Creek, Maryland, if you're familiar with that. Matter of fact, right over that way, not that far, is Maryland. But we are near Terra Alta, and Melissa and I just bought 40 acres of beautiful paradise, at least as far as we're concerned.
I agree.
We have been looking for property for how many years, Melissa?
Well, you've been looking for property for a good while.
Probably 5 or 6 years, and just something for down the road as kind of an investment, and also to maybe build a cabin, have a camp, something like that. And what we were looking for, we didn't know if it existed or not, because I was really looking for a special piece of property. What I wanted and what Melissa wanted both was something relatively flat. Here in West Virginia, there's a lot of land, a lot of beautiful country. I mean, it is an absolutely beautiful state, but a lot of it is very, very steep and not really usable for a lot of things. But this piece of property behind us, what we're going to take a look at, we closed on it this morning, and this is just the second time that we've been here. And we didn't even really get to see all of it last time we were here, so we're going to go for a little hike. But just looking at the contours, it's very, very flat compared to what I'm used to. I mean, the entire elevation change on this property from one end to the other is maybe 35 or 40 feet. And from where I'm from, that's kind of like a pool table. That's pretty flat. It really is. But we're going to go for a little hike here. We're going to take a look around. We'll tell you what we were looking for in a piece of property and what we ended up with. I think it was pretty close.
It was for me.
All right, so we are back home here in Pennsylvania. We got back late last night. What was it, around 10 o'clock?
Yeah.
10:30. After we left the property, we went to Deep Creek, Maryland. We had some dinner, checked out a few of the sites, and we headed home. But yesterday, so first thing in the morning, we closed on the property. We went down, checked everything out, and we attempted to make a video down there. We did get a lot of footage while we were there, but both of us were kind of like...
The kids In a candy store.
Yeah, or Christmas morning. You know, we just were like, hey, check this out. Hey, look at that. And it's a really nice property. It really is. And
It really is.
while we were down there, everything was going really well. The closing was super easy. The attorney was very nice. His name, by the way, is Justin Everett. He's with Mark Everett in Morgantown. And then Emily in their office, very nice. Everything was super easy, super quick. We got out of there. We went down to the property. And as soon as we're pulling in, we met one of the neighbors, huh?
We did.
And then...
Well, right across the street. She was kind of waiting for us to drive past across the street. And I'm like, stop and say, you know, do you live here? And we introduced ourselves.
Yeah, they're literally maybe a quarter mile down the road, maybe not even that. And then we met her husband, super nice guy. So everything was going really well, and then we had a run-in with the sheriff, actually, and we didn't do anything wrong or anything like that, but we were just stopped on the road, and he stopped to make sure we were all right. I said, yeah, we're fine, because there's nowhere to get off the road, and he's kind of, you know, what are you doing here? And I said, we just bought this property, and I'm telling you, this guy should be a motivational speaker. He said, why'd you do that? And I said, you know, I didn't really want to get into it with him. I just said, you know, we're probably going to build a cabin or something down here. Oh, it'll get broke into. And then he told us there's people that use drugs that drive on the roads. And he said if we walk back in there, we're going to get bit by a tick. And he had us about ready to put a for sale sign up that day. But there's just some people that are like that. He had a case of the grumpies. But if that was the welcoming committee, I'm focusing on the neighbors and everyone else we met down there, because this guy just was not happy. You know what I mean?
There is no glow in his eye.
No, he wasn't happy at all. But anyway, so one of the first things we need to do is get a driveway and at least get off the road, because there's nowhere to even park. Most of the property is all flat, except there is a little bank there to get up on. And so I can probably do that with a little tractor. But there's going to be a lot of work to do down there. Now, I did find an equipment rental place near Deep Creek, Maryland. It's in Garrett County. It's probably only a half hour, less than that, huh?
Yeah, I'd say 20-some minutes, yeah.
Yeah, 15, 20 minutes away. And they have excavators, everything, because I'm trying to figure out how to get my stuff down there to cut a road in. And it's about a 2 hours and 20 minutes to get down there. If I were to pay like a tractor trailer and a lowboy to move both the skid loader and the excavator, I'm probably looking at $800 each way.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking probably $800.
Yeah.
And if I were to buy a truck and trailer to haul that, you know, you're looking at a lot of money for that. So I think for the time being,
we may buy more property.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you could buy more property for what it would cost. So for the time being, we'll probably rent just to get a road in there, get some trees down.
I like that idea.
And go from there.
So when we were looking for property, there were 10 different things we had in mind.
Yeah, we didn't even realize it was 10 at first, but we should have had a list. And the first thing was we wanted something reasonably priced. And we'll get into all that in another video, what we paid for this property and all that kind of stuff and how we bought it, because it was a whole thing. 4 different landowners, all family. They live all over the country, but it was a whole thing to get it done. But everything worked out great, and everyone that we worked with was really well. But that was number one. It had to be reasonably priced, because around here where we live, it would be impossible to buy that much acreage for what we did. And it's much nicer.
And the layout and
it's just so much nicer than what we could have found around here. So that was number one. It had to be reasonably priced. The other thing, number two, that we were looking for, and this is more of my thing, I was looking for a piece of property with some softwoods on it, some white pine, even red pine, and this property has both. Around here, we can get tons of hardwoods for the sawmill, but it's nice to have a supply of softwoods to be able to build stuff out of. Out of those white pines and red pine, I can make framing lumber, siding, all kind of stuff out of that lumber. And there are thousands and thousands of board feet of lumber. Some of those trees were just huge.
They were.
You know, even once you get about 15 inches, you get a lot of lumber out of them. But some of those white pines down there, 26, 28 inches in diameter.
Easily.
Beautiful trees. And we're not going to go in there and start cutting a bunch of timber, but like where the road goes in, a little opening, that kind of thing, will definitely get a lot of a lot of lumber out of that stuff, which was one of the reasons we ordered the new sawmill. This has all been in the works for kind of a long time, trying to figure all this out and just getting everything in order. So that was number 2. We were looking for something with some softwoods on it. Definitely hit the jackpot with that.
Something else we were looking for, land that had wildlife.
Lots of wildlife, huh?
Yeah, like turkey, deer,
bear. We saw a bunch of bear poo down there yesterday, and we saw some deer.
We saw a fox.
Saw a fox.
Mike was actually on a phone call, and it was in the truck, the speakerphone, so I'm just trying to be quiet, but I see this fox just sitting.
It's a red fox.
Just sitting right in these woods off the side of the road we were driving. And I'm like, Mike, stop. So he's having this conversation, and I'm grabbing for cameras, and the fox was just sitting there. I grabbed the wrong camera, because the camera I grabbed, I couldn't zoom in on it.
But there is a
lesson learned.
There is a lot of wildlife there. The first time we were there, at the end of March, we must have saw 20 or 30 deer on the property, and then yesterday we saw several as well. And there's one critter, now according to the neighbor, that they don't have, and that is copperheads and rattlesnakes, which I was kind of surprised. But I think he's lived there, what, 35, 40 years? He's never seen one, so that's a good thing. Definitely black snakes. Bear kind of passed through, but we did see a lot of bear scat throughout the woods when we were down there. So that's something else we were looking for, something with a lot of wildlife.
And no snakes.
And no snakes, which I'm telling you, so far everything's been a home run, right?
I don't like snakes.
Well, I don't like snakes either. So that's something else, something with lots of wildlife, and we definitely have it there. Something else we wanted was property that was relatively flat. Didn't have to be perfectly flat or anything like that, but we have a lot of steep hills around here, and when you get into West Virginia, there's some very, very steep ground. I worked down there quite a bit trying to build well pads in the oil and gas industry, and it's tough. And we looked at a lot of other properties, mostly just online, didn't even go visit them. There could be 100 or 200 acres, and there might only be 5 acres that was really usable, just dropped straight off. So we were looking for something flat, and this is pretty flat. It really is. I mentioned earlier in this video, I believe, I think the total elevation change, I checked it again, it's about 40 feet over 1,800 feet long. And it's real flat going back, and just starts to rise up just a little, but all usable ground, which is, really nice. Okay.
And we were looking for something between 50 and 100 acres.
Yeah, we didn't quite get there with this. It's 40 acres, but I think as flat as it is, like we just talked about, kind of makes up for that. All
usable, right.
This property is in Preston County.
I think Winnie the Pooh would approve.
Yeah.
100 acre wood.
It's in Preston County, West Virginia, and I looked at some properties like in Marshall, Wetzel County, and just incredibly steep. And it really wouldn't even be good for hunting, to tell you the truth. Places that I've worked down there, it's amazing. I mean, a D6 dozer can barely get up some of the hills. You know, when we were working, it's just that steep. But so we didn't quite get there. This property's just under 40 acres, and but I think taking everything into consideration, we pretty much hit the mark on the 50 to 100, even though we're not quite there. Right.
Yeah. 40 acres, all usable. And even the roads to get there are like, you're going down this mountain through a tiny little town and back up another mountain. So the roads there are exactly what John Denver says.
Yeah, yeah. And I think this is called Chestnut Ridge, which would be the west side of the Appalachian Mountains. So that same ridge comes the whole way up into Pennsylvania, by Somerset and all that, and goes down there. I think that's called Chestnut Ridge. I'll have to look into that.
We also wanted somewhere between a 3-hour drive from our home.
Yeah, 3 hours or less.
Right, that was 3 hours is the maximum we'd.
That was the goal. I mean, it would be great if we could have found something like this 20 minutes from here, but it just doesn't exist. And if it did, it would be way out of our budget. And but yeah, 3 hours or less. And this is about 2 hours and 25 minutes, maybe 2.5, somewhere in there. And with gas prices the way they are, it would have been nicer to be at 2 hours or less. But still, this isn't bad at all. It puts us in a really nice area. So we hit the mark on that one as well.
That's right. Something else we were looking for is that it would be in an area that we would enjoy things to do. This one lake that was near there. We were able to drive up through it, and they have a resort, golf course, and lots of things to do. It was seriously like being in the movie The Great Outdoors.
It was an older resort. It's called Alpine Lake. You can look it up if you want. It's Alpine Lake Resort. It was nice. It was, but everything was kind of dated. You know, the little mini golf course, but the golf course, the regular golf course, looked pretty nice. The lake is absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, little beach area.
Little beach. I think the fall would be just spectacular down there with the colors. And so you've got like Alpine Resort. It's 20-25 minutes from Deep Creek, Maryland. Swallow Falls. There's all kind of state parks and all kind of things to do around there. You can even go south to Blackwater Falls, West Virginia. But it is a beautiful state. A lot of people from West Virginia will get mad at us for saying this because they probably don't want so many people coming there. But it's truly a gem here in the East. It really is. And
it is a treasure.
It's very, very nice state. And I've worked down there for years and got to see a lot of it, but we're going to see more of it. It's really a nice place. So that was something else. Things to do around there. Oh, and something else that you can do around there. We were talking to the neighbors. We probably talked to them for an hour, you know.
At least, yeah.
And you can ride your side-by-sides on the road down there. And he said, we can just ride for hours and hours. Bring one down. And I'm like, well, what is it, like state land? And he said, it's mostly all those back roads down there. And they get down to little dirt paths and back to, you know, stone roads. But you can just ride and ride. So we're going to do that sometime, hook up with them down there and spend a day kind of exploring on the side-by-side. So definitely a lot to do. Wisp Ski Resort is right up the road. All kind of stuff. I mean, we'll get into all that more later on, and when we go down, we'll probably be doing some work, like a day or two, and then exploring a day or so. That's kind of the plan until we get things the way we want.
And I really, on top of my list, was something secluded, quiet, reverent, and actually exactly what the property is.
It's very quiet there.
You're not too far away from things to do, but yet you are. And it's just that. And you can't hear road traffic
at all. Like here, you probably pick it up once in a while. It's super quiet down there, especially once you're back in the woods.
Because those pines make like a velvet carpet on the floor, so that gives you some security of sound. Yeah, it's like
sound deadening.
And then the trees, and it really is incredible.
When we were down there, when there was snow on the ground, I never heard quiet like that. Yeah. Seriously, it was just silence. It was beautiful.
It really is. Definitely
peaceful, quiet, secluded. The other thing that was very important to us is we wanted something not real restrictive, where you kind of feel free. And West Virginia is a pretty good place for that. Like no zoning, all that kind of stuff. I will get a driveway permit, and that will probably be about it for what we'll have to do. And you probably don't even really have to do that, but we're going to start things off on the right foot and get a driveway permit. But, you know, you can do pretty much anything you want. Like I said, you can drive side-by-sides on the road. You can shoot guns. You can do all those kind of things that we kind of enjoy doing. And it's a very restrictive-free area, wouldn't you say?
Right, I would.
Yeah.
It's a good feeling.
Now, the last thing, this is where you guys come in. We were looking for a place where it would be nice to have meetups and gatherings a couple times a year, you know, where some of you could come out, set the sawmill up, maybe take the log splitter down there, have a couple food trucks, pavilion, some porta-johns, and just have a good time, you know, a couple times. And we're just not set up for that here at home. And quite honestly, we just don't want a bunch of people coming here to the house. But this is something that would be, we can use it for that, which is part of
it would be a planned event and you'd know about it.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be that you stop in and then tell us, hey, I'm here.
Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that. But there's, like you said, it's in the middle of nowhere, but you're literally 20 minutes from Oakland, Maryland, and then Deep Creek, and there's hotels, and even that Alpine Resort, there's plenty of places for people to stay. But and that goes back to the less restrictive property where we can kind of do what we want on it, and that is one of the things that we'd like to do. So that's what we're going to work towards, is have some you know, we can get a couple other YouTubers down there. Get Nathan up here from out of the woods.
Yeah.
Actually, we've managed to keep this quite the secret, and the only reason we did that, in case it fell through, we didn't want to tell anybody about it, and in case it fell through. There's a few people that know. I did talk to Josh and Aaron from Wild and Wonderful Off Grid, because they're from West Virginia. I had some questions for them. They're very helpful, and they have a fantastic channel. If you guys haven't seen their channel, they're just
check them out.
Killing it on YouTube. But they are from West Virginia, Wild Wonderful Off Grid. And if you don't know, that's a great name for their channel, but it's actually the state motto or whatever. It's on every sign. It's on everything.
It's on their license plate.
Yeah, on the license plates. Wild and Wonderful. And from what we've seen so far, it is both.
It is.
Both of those. So we were trying to come up with a good catchy name for the property, and we wanted to keep it simple, but we kind of had two. We're just going to go basically with Camp Morgan and
the High Ground Compound.
So it will be Camp Morgan, also known as
yeah,
the High Ground Compound, because it is near Terra Alta, and I think in Latin that means high ground, I believe. I think it does. But one thing about that property, now some people may seem to think this is a negative. For us, it really doesn't concern me. I think it'll be kind of cool. You know how I always say I don't need a snowblower? Like, I just don't need one. We don't get enough snow. We're definitely going to need a snowblower down there. They get an incredible amount of snow, the most anywhere in West Virginia, and probably in the top 5-6 areas in the east. But Terra Alta, according to the Weather Channel, gets 175 inches per year average, and it's an incredible amount of snow. Like when we were down there in March, it was March 29th, and you know, we're getting close to the property. We're getting near Terra Alta, and we passed this big cat grader. It was in the intro to this video, pushing back the snow banks, and there's a foot of snow in the ground. I'm like, it's kind of late in the year. They got a decent storm. Didn't think much of it. And then every little farm you drive by and place, there's big snow blowers for their big, like, farm tractors and stuff. I'm like, they must get a lot of snow here. And then I looked it up when I got home, and that's what the neighbor was telling me too. He said he moved there when he was 14, and what did he say? He said first winter it started snowing, and he told his dad, "It's snowing, Dad. It's snowing a lot." He's like, yeah, we'll be fine. He goes, next day it was still snowing. The next day it was still snowing, and he said it was like up to his chest, you know. And he's like, we're all going to die here, you know. But a lot of snow there. There's going to be a lot of snow. He also
mentioned that they plow the road, but then it is so steep.
Yeah, it's stacked up on both sides.
You have to fold in your mirrors just to get through that path.
Yeah, so
that's pretty cool.
That should be interesting, but it'd be nice to have a little cabin down there and get snowed in for a couple of weeks, you know.
We'll see.
Whatever.
Then there's welcoming a new baby Morgan.
Yeah, no, we're editing that out. So anyway, this video was just kind of a introduction to the new property, Camp Morgan, also known as the High Ground Compound. There will be lots more to come. There will be a lot more to come. It's going to be an off-grid property. There is power out near the road, but we don't really want to hook up to all that. We have some ideas for a cabin, pavilion, all that white pine down there. We're going to be using a bunch of that. There's going to be a ton of work to do, but there's really not that much dirt moving to do because it's so flat. You know what I mean? Around here, if you want to do anything, you got to move a bunch of dirt and take steep ground and make it flat. We're down there. There won't be a lot of dirt moving, but a lot of tree work and building stuff. We'll probably start off with a big tent, to tell you the truth. Just build a deck, put a tent on it, then a cabin, pavilion, and we'll go from there. But we're looking forward to spending a lot of time down there this summer and even next winter and beyond, and get to the point where we can have some of you come out and have some fun. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
It'll be good.
Yeah.
We're really excited. We are.
Very excited.
It was hard to keep this a secret as long as we had, but we'll get into the whole thing, how we bought this, how it all went down in another video. But there's actually about 12 acres that you haven't even seen yet, and you know, it's 3 parcels. They're all together, but that 12 acres, we didn't even see it when we agreed to buy it. It's a whole story how it all went down. We'll get into that in another video, and we'll show you that piece of property in the next video. But there's more red pine, white pine, but there's a lot more hardwoods on that other 12 acres. So we'll have lumber to heat with, build stuff with. It's just awesome. Just really excited.
Really is.
So I think that's about it. Anything you'd like to add, Melissa?
Yeah, it's just mystical. If I had to try to describe it in my mind sense of the, I might describe you something different that Mike has, but it is like from a movie. It's just, it's very peaceful. It's
very, very peaceful.
It's just like mystical.
It is.
Yeah. And I don't know if I've ever used that word in my life.
And the way they planted
anything.
all those red pines back in the day, they're in straight rows. The white pines are kind of growing more randomly, but it's just beautiful. It really is. And look forward to sharing with you this whole process and journey, and we'll have some of you out someday. So
it'll be exciting.
I think that's about it.
Yeah, thanks so much for being here and being a part of this, and comment down below. We love to hear from you, and we'll see you on the next one.
Thanks.